Good to see you again this morning.
Yes, on another Woman2Woman show,
And
Wednesday, midweek, hump day. Yeah, Wednesday, hump day.
we on doing.
Jill, why you always trying to put me out there? Like,
No, I don't know. Good morning to all of the listeners tuned in on the Champion Station Vibes Radio. I want to say good morning to those on all our frequencies. Uh, that's 99.5, 94.5, 90.1, Digicel 57. Morning to our Monstrat listeners.
right.
We have folks joining us in Montserrat. So Vibes Radio is now in Montserrat. Woo-hoo.
Yeah.
That's some exciting news. Good morning to social media peeps. Um, it's a beautiful day here in Toronto, and I hope everybody's having
Yeah, it's a hot day here in Dominica. A hot day, but it's a beautiful day nonetheless. Um, you know what it's like here.
a I know.
Yeah.
Um, how was your evening?
I mean, my evening was fine. I mean, I there was a lot going on, in the news and in a lot of social media chatter, and so that took up a lot of my evening. I was kind of getting the vibe on stuff that's going on in the United States, and I know you were too. And yeah,
I was I was completely torn, completely. I don't know. It's probably I'm extremely sensitive these days. I don't know what it is because normally I don't get so super emotional about things that don't really I feel that doesn't affect me directly, but it affects me directly. It affects Black people. I remember, a little while ago, there was a small controversy about whether or not Black History Month was for us in the Caribbean, or if it was just segregated to the United States of America because they were the ones that kind of, started the whole Black History Month. And
right.
I kind of excluded myself from any conversation that included Black people in America because I felt we were
Mm-hmm.
excluded as American people and that leave them with their problems, leave them with their calamities. I don't understand that we also, actually, as a matter of fact, slavery started in the Caribbean. Like they got it into America after, and I feel kind of they were leaving us out of the conversation, and it got me really upset. But yesterday, seeing how
Mm-hmm.
one because anytime I see a Black person, I feel like it's my brother or my sister. It's part of me.
Yeah, you feel some sort of connection, yeah.
Yeah, and seeing what happened was just like I thought at one point that the video was going to stop and something else was going to happen, and I could not imagine seeing somebody literally losing, taking their last breath right before me. Like it's not even like they were sick or anything. The man was
Mm-hmm.
with his mother.
Right. And so for our listeners who maybe were not, tuned in to that story on social media last evening, there was another very prominent case of what clearly looks like police brutality and racially motivated police brutality at that, where a black man lost his life at the hands of the police. And since then, the four police officers involved have been fired. But of course, there's a lot of outcry for a lot more than them just losing their jobs. I mean, from when you look at the video, it looks like at least the police officer who was kneeling on the neck of the black man, George Floyd, should be charged with some sort of, you know,
It
some
was
sort of crime.
murder.
He was murdered,
It was
you know.
murder.
So
I don't care. We're not even. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it.
yeah, so I mean, so them being fired, it's not even sufficient. There needs to be a lot more discussion on accountability for these type of apparent race crimes and them being committed by the police. You know,
You see,
so
I was so. I think what probably did it for me was I saw the Karen video. I don't know if you saw the where they
yeah, well, the lady called the police on
set
on
the
on
bar,
the.
right?
Mhm.
And I I guess, internalized it because I was so angry. And watching, it's like I almost felt like both situations were connected. Like my emotions connected both situations.
Yeah.
Like, yo, she's calling the police to come because an African American man is apparently
Threatening her.
threatening her life. And then the next video, you see an African American man on the ground with the police.
Right.
All
So,
right.
so, so the emotion, the connection was made right away. And I think that happened for a lot of people too. That's why it was maybe so all out there last evening on social media, because it's like back to back incidents and
Super emotional.
you know. So
So I had to do yoga this morning because I
wow.
had to get my mind right because I cried so much that even when I was doing the test yesterday with
Hmm.
that test work coming on, I was in tears. You know, it was very hard for me because I'm thinking, I have two black kids. You
Hmm.
know, not just that. Like as Caribbean people, we may try to take ourselves away from it, but we have black boys or black men who are relatives
Of
who
course.
live in the States. I
And
mean,
yeah, of course. And we Caribbean people, we visit the state, we go to study in the States. I mean, I've been racially profiled whilst I was studying in Texas. So it's not like we can totally exclude ourselves from that particular struggle. It's all encompassing. I mean, it's not going to avoid touching us because we're in a different location. Definitely not. So
so I did my yoga this
mhm,
morning.
you
So I
calm down a bit.
apparently I'm getting a little bit of feedback. But guys, let us know if you can hear me on social media. I don't know if it's my mic. I checked my mic. My mic is okay. So let me know if you guys can hear us clearly. But speaking about working out, we want to actually we want to do a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
So we'll let you guys know a little bit more about it as the time progresses.
Yeah.
That we want to do a workout challenge. Well, and for me though, it's whatever I feel is somewhat necessary at any given time in the morning.
Hmm.
Like some mornings I do like more vigorous cardio. I skip, skip and rope, and some mornings I just do yoga or, I just do a bit of stretching. Like it just varies for me because sometimes I can't do all of the extra stuff sometimes.
Or
So
you do what you can.
yeah, I take it in
Or what the
moderation.
mood dictates, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, this morning I did some shoulders, upper shoulder, upper stretches with the
Right.
yoga. So
Sure.
and I could hear my shoulders cracking while I was doing it because
Mhm.
I had so much stress there.
You were
And
tense.
I was tense. After yesterday, I was tense. Tense.
Right.
And so we just want to encourage, all the women out there, to try and think of a way into you can fit some sort of workout into your schedule. We're gonna be doing a whole blitz on it. So start thinking about it. We're just putting it out there. Start thinking about it so that you know exactly what path you want to go. Some of you might say, we're gonna walk in the mornings, and some might say, I want to do it on my back porch. It's as easy as climbing up and down your steps. You could choose that to be your little routine, or probably lifting buckets of water, or it could be anything, whatever you want to incorporate. Just start thinking about how you're gonna do your little workouts with us in the morning time, and we want to be able to get your videos and share your videos and all that good stuff. Tell me if y'all hear me clearly, because
Yeah.
um,
So people can hear us. Can
I
hear
know
us.
people on social media are hearing me clearly, but I'm not sure if people on radio are hearing as clearly. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for the whole workout stuff. But Trudy, we also I know you've
Mhm.
been accountable as it relates to the one seated day.
Yeah. So we have another challenge going on, and we really want to invite our listening audience to take part. Of course, the other day we had Alia Libla on, and she spoke to us about the one seed a day initiative from June 1st to June 30th, basically encouraging people to plant something and to take pictures and share their progress in what they have planted. So we want to throw out the challenge to our listeners to join in with the one seed a day challenge. Plant something. It can be in a little egg tray. It can be in a flower pot. It can be in your backyard. You don't need a lot of space to do it. And to share those pictures and with us as we, showcase our planting capabilities. And I told Jael, and Jael, I'm reminding you that you are going to be in on this challenge. June 1st is the day that we're starting documenting this challenge. So, Jael, you have enough.
The assistant producer, Natasha Lloyd Labad, has already started. The pictures you're seeing,
Yes.
they're from her garden that she started. So she started her little thingy going on. Bring up the Natasha. She's like, yo, I'm gonna go to do this.
Yeah, Natasha is ahead of the game. So big up to Natasha. She's already shown her plans, but we'll be getting on board, right, Jill?
She threw me in shade. Like I don't even get that. Like who does this?
It's okay. We'll get out of the shade.
Producer, like she's one of the producers. She's supposed to give it to us first to do.
It's okay. It's okay. We'll get on. We'll get on. Don't worry.
I'll be sharing the pictures with you guys tomorrow and over the next couple of days of folks who've been sending pictures. Want to encourage you, you can send your pictures and your videos once you start. So if you've started already, because I know a few folks who were in on our conversation on Monday and they've started doing the work already.
Right.
Their backyard gardens or their flower pot gardens or their little trays or whatever you're doing it. So they started. If you've started, share your pictures with us.
Right.
W2W, that's letter W, number 2, W like Woman2Woman, .vibesradio@gmail.com. Share them with us, or you could just send them on our Facebook page. That is Woman2Woman. Just send it to us there, directly, and we can share your photos on the Woman2Woman show.
And remember too to hashtag one seed a day if you're going to share on your own, social media platform, just so that we can build up that awareness. So hashtag one seed a day. All right?
Yeah. We need to take a break. We're going to take a short break.
Yes.
And when we come back, we're going to be joined by our 2 guests who are waiting patiently for today's hump day. Woman. Stay tuned, guys.
Didn't you know the only place to go, Vibes Radio? Silk say so.
From today until May the 31st, Burton & Company is having a grand promotion on all small appliances. Are you looking for a top-of-the-line cake mixer with a blender combo? A straightforward machine with a classic look and high performance? Perfect for caterers, restaurateurs, or moms who love to bake? Check out the Kenwood Cake Mixer. That's the place to start. And this month, enjoy a whopping 30% off Kenwood and KitchenAid all month long. But that's not all. Enjoy 15% off on all small appliances from yogurt makers, crepe makers, and more. Check out our Stay at Home in May baking contest going on now on Facebook and Instagram with prizes to be won. Happy Mother's Day in May. Come see what's new only at the Electric Shop.
Huggies Active Sec disposable diapers provides the best absorption results. Its Velcro Dura technology provides a long-lasting fit for up to 12 hours of absorption and are available in sizes small to XXL at an affordable price. Huggies Active Sec, aiding your baby to explore the world. Available at all supermarkets and shops island-wide and distributed by Springfield Trading Limited.
We wake you up to take you up, so stay up like a champion.
right? We're back. We're back. Sorry. Sorry. Sorry, Trudy. We're back on your favorite radio station.
Yeah, so Jael, this morning we have two very interesting guests. It's a mother-daughter duo. What last week we had twins, and
Yeah,
today,
we're on a theme here, right?
yeah, I know it's all about women, strong families. And so we have mother-daughter duo, Dr. Alicia Bannis and Pepita Bannis, who will be joining us. And interesting topic. We're going to be talking a bit about cultural competence and cultural relevance. And it's something that initially, when I heard of it, I was like,
Sasai.
yeah, what's that? But then as I read about what the guests are engaged in, and of course they'll tell us themselves, it struck me that this is something that is discussed all the time. Like I remember when I was at school, doing my public health degree, it was always taught that you have to take into consideration what people culturally accept when you're trying to provide health care for them. There was this very interesting story once of this lady who came into a hospital and she was convinced that she had a liver demon and she was experiencing abdominal pain, and in her mind, because she had this strong belief in that type of stuff, that it was a demon that had infiltrated her liver. So, and she kept pressing down on her abdomen to try to squeeze out the liver demon. So then the physician, no matter what type of treatment he tried to provide, this lady kept basically putting pressure on her own organs by, pressing down on them constantly. So what he ended up doing, which was so, and this is a true story, he ended up calling in a shaman, which is like a spiritual leader, and the shaman came in and did all these rituals and all these sorts of stuff over the lady to kind of get the demon out. And it was only after that that she started to accept regular treatment from the physician. So that's just to show you how people's cultural ideas, really come.
Ignorance. It's not even
Right.
ignorance. It's just what you grow up
It's a
knowing.
belief. Yeah, it's a belief. So if you exclude, the whole cultural identity of people when you're trying to provide them with healthcare or even education, you're not going to be successful. So these ladies that we have on today are going to really delve into that for us.
They're gonna hit home for us.
Yeah, and it's actually interesting because you cannot, it's like what you believe and what you grew up knowing. It's such an integral part of who you are and how you're going to respond to, to anything else.
So, without no further ado, we just want to welcome our guest on. First, we'll be joined. I'll start with the mom, as Dr. Alicia Bannis. She is a doctor of nursing practice, and she's currently a nurse educator and has been that for the last 17 years. She has 38 years of experience. So her practice as a registered nurse. She's also been a clinician, nurse specialist, and also a certified orthopedic nurse. She's also done her nursing. She studied actually her nursing career in Dominica, the Princess Margaret Hospital, or actually moved to the U.S. So I feel like she knows a little bit about. Not I feel she knows a little bit about our culture and how we stand and what our beliefs and stuff. And even yesterday during our little powwow getting ready for the show, she was able to shed some light on some of the things that are very familiar to us as Caribbean people, and not just Caribbean people, as Dominicans. And
Right.
joining her is her daughter, Benita Bannis, who is the Assistant Director of IFAS International Support Team. That's at the University of Florida Institute of Food and Agricultural Science. She is a triple gator, which I absolutely have to mention. She had a bachelor degree in political science, a minor in African studies, master's degree in the counseling education and specialist degree in counselor education. That's marriage and family therapy at the University of Florida. She has over 18 years of experience, and she is here. She's going to be talking to us. A lot of her interests are organized around education, equity, persistence, and community development, especially among groups of African descent. So, without no further ado, let's welcome our guests for joining us right here on the Woman to Woman show. Let's make no, we're not making this.
We
Let's say
don't.
morning.
Good morning.
Good
How
morning.
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Hello.
How are you all doing?
Pretty good. I'm pretty good.
We are well.
great, great. Go ahead, Trudy.
Okay, so we already we started off the discussion. Um, Benita,
Hmm.
Jael mentioned in your bio, in your intro, that you had done a minor in African studies. So we wanted a little feedback from you before we even got it started. About our prior discussion of the whole racial discourse right now in America.
Absolutely. And please let me know if you cannot hear me. I'm going to try and project, but my headphones are gone, so forgive me. Um, but it's very interesting being a Black person in America right now. And especially as a person from Caribbean descent and learning how to adapt and adopt in this world. I think what we have to remember is that we all come from Africa, and the things that we are going through, no matter whether we are in the United States, we are in Europe, we are in Asia, we're in the Caribbean, Latin America, what you find is that we are all connected by our strengths and by our history, our shared history. And we know that there's been significant conflict even in the United States, especially in the United States, and it's coming to the surface right now, but it is rooted in a lot of systemic and structural issues that if we do not address them, if we just, slap, Jesus on it, or we say it's our problem or whatever we do, we will never get to a point where there is healing. Yesterday, I was sharing that even in the Constitution, even in the original intent of the experiment that is the United States, it's embedded that Black people were 3/5 of a person. And that has not been undone, even with the Emancipation Proclamation, and people count that as when Black folks got their rights. That is not true. We still struggled after, and even to this day, you see lynching that happened in Georgia. That was murder that happened in Georgia. You see this same incident in Minneapolis last week, where it was so crazy that officer's knee is on the neck of a Black man. And literally and figuratively, that's where we are. And we had to watch this brother lose his life on camera, and the audacity of the system that did that to him, to do it in broad daylight, on camera, and to know and feel secure that nothing would happen. That is an outrage. And as a human being, if you are not outraged, if you are not about to just lose it at seeing that, you have to check yourself, Black or white. You have to check yourself at that point and see what is internally, what is your climate internally, that you can see the suffering and murder of another person and not feel the feelings of distress, of just sympathy, of empathy, of even sometimes violence, because that is your brother, that is your family. And I think that as Black people, whether we come from the Caribbean or we come from the United States, whomever, we cannot let the system divide us anymore about this. We cannot pretend that we are having different experiences and that we are not all family. We are family. When I saw that, I thought about my dad. I thought about my brothers. I have 3 brothers. And right now, I don't know what to tell them, because I can sit in my home and be shot and killed. I can go jogging and be shot and killed. I can go to the grocery store and be shot. I can do anything that everyone else can do. And I can die and no one pays any price for it, because we are not humans in America. We are still treated as we are property, as things. Then I go to this other video that was shown about the new Karen in the park. And I see people comment about the abuse of the animal. And it was an abusive situation, and I'm glad the dog got returned. But we are missing the fact that this woman knowingly and intentionally put the life of a Black man in danger on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't want to follow the rules. The man is peacefully looking at birds in the park, and he's asking her to follow the rules. And in response to that, she calls the police knowing good and well what can happen. And then a day later apologizes for it. This is what's happening here. And we can't let that behavior stand. We have to begin to call it out. And with our white allies, they need to become accomplices, not just allies, not just partners, not just people who are against racism. You have to be anti-racist, which is a different thing. And you have to become an accomplice, which means we are in this together. If my life is gone, your life is. That's how tight it has to be.
Right.
Amongst us, we have to get it together and realize there's no division. We all have the same skin, and before you hear my accent, you see my Black face. Before you know my credentials, before you know where I work, you see my Black face, and that has to be something that is taken into account in every single area. I'm sorry for preaching too long, but I have to
No,
get it out.
Not
no.
at all. I think it was so relevant. I got so emotional.
Jael, you okay? I know. Yeah, I know that pulled up all your.
They saw me yesterday. I was in tears when I did I was like, I could not contain myself yesterday. I'm better now. I really could not contain myself yesterday. I was unable to function normally yesterday. And I felt like it was my brother. I don't have brothers, but my father or somebody that I knew. Like I couldn't imagine what I was seeing. I was like, is this 2020? Like is this people for real?
Yeah.
And then I love what you said. Benita. I think you spoke so passionately about it. So I don't even need to. We don't need to say anything else about it right now.
And it's definitely a topic. Yes, Jael. It's definitely a topic we need to continue talking about. I mean, even as Caribbean people, as you said, we're not excluded, So we need to continue talking about it, and we will. I know it's a very raw time for a lot of us. It's like a slap in the face because every time you think there's progress, you see like this clear regression, in the whole racial divide. So we will continue talking about it, but we want to bring in the topic that we had scheduled, and get you ladies to talk about what you're so passionate about, besides what we started off with. So I want to throw this out there to you guys, mother-daughter pair, but anybody can take this question. Why cultural competence, and why are we having this discussion this morning? What's the relevance to us?
Okay, I will answer this, Ben.
Okay.
And it's not coincidental at all. You see what is happening now, and to bring that topic at this time is just relatable. And when we talk about cultural competence, it's not a word that we have to just throw around. We have to understand cultural competence as the ability to effectively, remember I say effectively, understand, communicate, and interact with diverse cultures transculturally. But it might be a simple situation, but really it's not so. Because even before cultural competence occurs, there's got to be self awareness. That is a set skill. You must be culturally aware of your own beliefs. And even before that, as we move along, we look at cultural relevance as a subset of cultural competence. And what that is in itself is to understand diverse cultures, is to respond to diverse cultures, and to help development, to have a successful interaction. So, in a nutshell, that's what really it is.
Right. And I can jump in a little bit. Cultural competence helps us to see the big picture. And so, even as you start with self awareness, it also helps you to have other awareness, to be able to broaden your perspective and see beyond your boundaries and your borders. Especially when you're in a crisis, the first thing you think about is what to do. You're not thinking about who you are, who the other people are, how do I respond. None of those things tend to come into your mind. You're just thinking about what to do. So if you have developed that skill of cultural competence and are adding to it, you are thinking about not just what to do, but you step back and think about who you are, who the other person or the people might be, and maybe how you might need to respond as a community. And it's something that, we are struggling with in this world. We're struggling with it in our workplace, and we are working through that, but it has to become a value that we all share.
What is the implication of cultural competence, for example, in healthcare or education, or even caring professionals? Like, what is the implication of?
But so even if we have to restate that question, what is the implication? We have to look at the global response to cultural competence. And even with dealing with COVID-19, we look at this as a crisis. And for example, for healthcare, we send the nurses out. And we know for a fact that nurses are always at the forefront of healthcare. That's a fact. So we're sending our nurses out, we're sending healthcare out. But in itself, it's like going to battle with no armor on. And that is the weakness as we look at cultural competence, because we have not totally understood the implications as we send them out for that situation, how it's going to impact their lives and how it's going to impact their families' lives. So right there, we have failed somewhat in understanding the true concept of cultural competence. When we look at transcultural, diverse cultures, in itself, within this framework, we have this cultural identity where we have to understand where healthcare is. And if we don't actually understand, that's the reason why we have nurses dying, we have healthcare personnel dying, and we don't understand why did they die. It's because we don't provide them with what they needed to go fight the battle.
Right. We didn't consider their needs. And that was the weakness. It's that the irony is we're sending a group of people at the front lines of crisis and not considering who the people are and what they need and their families need to survive. Crisis happens all the time. We're talking about, my mom and I talking about COVID, but then I asked the question, well, don't we have hurricanes every year? Don't we have crisis every year? Why aren't we talking about the nurses as a cultural group or healthcare professionals as a cultural group that needs to be protected? In my job at the University of Florida, one of the things we recently did was we started a support team for all of the international activity that's happening, that's been going on forever. And that was to really capture a opportunity to address some of our weaknesses. We were sending our faculty out and having our students go out and not really understanding what their needs were and not being able to be equipped to address some of the complexities that happen when you're working in the international sphere. And then you have to ask yourself, but why didn't you think of this before? It's because we haven't integrated our cultural competency into our lives and our livelihood. And that's why it's important even now to take this as an opportunity.
I like that you're saying that, because something simple as, you know, a lot of in the Caribbean, a lot of us migrate to the US to go to school to study. And we get into these classrooms with everybody else, and we have to interact with everybody else, and we have to learn with everybody else just the same. And what I found is that a lot of the university professors in the US, they don't understand our culture and the fact that we can't fail. There's no, we come in there, you might be a North American in class and you're like, okay, I'm learning. And if I fail, I'll just redo it or whatever. That's there's no question for us. We can't fail. One, you can't fail because you might lose your scholarship. Two, you can't fail because your mother might turn your head into the ground. You can't fail because you scared to go back home because they'll kill you. You just waste all their money. They put up and their house and everything to send you to school, you're dead man walking. So you can something simple as that, you know?
And what's striking me about the discussion, apart from, us identifying people from a certain region, like, Jael is just speaking about Caribbean people as having a shared culture. What I just learned is, you also have to consider that it's not just, being from a same locale that would give you that shared culture, but like the nurses, for instance, as a group,
Right.
have that shared culture that we have to consider,
Right.
or teachers, or whatever you want to say. But once they're in that shared experience and that shared, maybe function, that that grouping in itself has its own cultural, nuances. And I didn't even think about that initially. So this is really interesting, I think, for me to even grasp it from that
Perspective.
angle. Yeah.
And then and the thing is, for me, I'm passionate about nursing. I'm passionate about nursing education, and some, at least now, we may want to project this to our nursing world about regarding doing more research about how much we can change the whole picture, the whole trajectory of where we're going as a profession to develop more understanding of the culturally competent interactions that we can have to make us successful as a nurse.
Right. Yep. And there are common weaknesses that happen. I think that both me and my mom are from different professional standpoints. And we started the conversation, mommy's over here and I'm over here, and we're trying to understand each other. And as we start to talk through what our experiences are, we understood even better our own perspective and the places in which we can connect. And so if that's not happening in any organization, in any family, in any community, we are missing out on the strength of that community. Are we valuing cultural difference? Are we thinking about stereotypes and stereotypical behaviors? Are we aware of our prejudices? Are we invested in every instance of intolerance or injustice? Are we affirming cultural diversity as a value? If you're asking yourself that question, for me as one of the leaders in my college, I have to ask myself, is what we're doing affirming people who are coming from a different background? Am I looking for stereotypes and prejudices? Am I addressing those things? Because we have to do that if we're going to be successful in helping the people that we say we're here to help. That's just part of what we have to do.
So, the question I have, I know some of your work relates to having this interdisciplinary approach, as it relates to interventions in times of crisis, like what we're going through right now. So, how can that interdisciplinary intervention approach, how can it strengthen our communities, strengthen, our nation in this type of time, this type of crisis time?
But that's a good question too. And we're looking at the impact of the crisis. And one thing I realize is we have to lead from the future. Typically, we will work and we'll look at what is the future is going to bring. But now we have to lead from the future. Look at what we have to do, put it in the now, in the present, and move on from there. Because this is what is going to help us impact the global world, even the region. And we can develop this as a model that the region can pattern after. They can emulate us if we learn how to lead, looking at what is going on what should be happening and bringing it up in the present.
We have to look at the impact first. So before, like I said before, you have a crisis, you have a solution. You have a crisis, you have an intervention. Problem, answer. And you're not thinking about the impact of what you're doing. And so if you are considering the individual impact, the local impact, the community impact, the national, regional, international impact of your action, you're thinking about that first, you have a better action. And then also, if you are truly culturally competent, if you are thinking about that approach as a lens, you're also inviting all levels into the decision making process. So, for a nurse who is trying to do something different to respond to a crisis, that nurse might bring in other nurses, other doctors, but a cultural competent person will also bring in educators, community leaders, maybe engineers, government officials, all different types of people, so that there is an investment in the process. And then when you have an investment in the process, it's a solution that becomes something that we can all carry together. And there's a global reach that happens because we're all invested in pulling together.
What do you guys see as a plan of action for meeting cultural relevance, especially when it comes to the needs of the communities, especially during this pandemic?
And I would say too, as a plan of action, we have to look at our stakeholders. Who are we going to bring? Who is going to have the voice? Who is going to communicate? Who can speak to that situation? And as Benita alluded to, yes, we like the nurse, bring the engineers, bring in the doctors. We have to look at our stakeholders. And we also have to consider, and we have to be very careful about considering this expertise paradigm, because we can say, okay, let us bring the experts in, but then we have to look at the public, the man who think doesn't have a voice or a say. We have to bring them all together. That's our stakeholders. And when we bring everyone together, then we can communicate, then we can discuss, we can have a very beneficial discourse, because everyone speaking with the same voice, with the same intent.
Right, right. And I think what something that my mom and I thought through as we came together, this became apparent, is that culture plus community equals action. And we have to get those first. It can't just be action. It has to be culture. Who are the cultural groups that need to be at the table? And then who is our community? Is our community just our local people? Is it people from outside? Let's define that community and get a big enough community that we have many voices. You know, at the University of Florida, we thought that COVID would stop our action, and it did not. In my college, I'm seeing more requests for people to collaborate with our faculty now than before, because we have now opportunity to stop and think about what might be our response. What does the culture need? What's our community faced with? And are we considering those voices as we come up with solutions, interventions? Are we start implementing programs? Are we thinking about all these other pieces? And so we have to think of this as not just a crisis, but an opportunity. Every crisis has an opportunity. We don't waste our crises just addressing the problem. Think of the opportunity that's hidden in beneath that.
Yeah. We're getting some feedback from our viewers.
Yes.
We of course we have people logged on and listening. Someone says, firstly, I applaud you all for providing this forum for us to be more aware of what's going on. And she goes on to ask the question. She says that I think that nurses are so critical. But do you think that when you're a nurse from a different culture, working, let's say, in the United States, you are treated differently because of culture? And have any one of you maybe experienced prejudices also? So this is from one of our listeners.
She's talking to the choir right there. Because as a nurse from the Caribbean, I was forewarned what to expect. But forewarning was not what the experience was. I experienced every bit of cultural impact or cultural
Racism, let's call it.
racial bias you can think of. But you know what? I'm not sure if it's Trudy that mentioned being that strong person. I think is
Yeah.
Jael. Being that strong person. When I came to this country, my focus was getting better. I told my kids I'm coming here for better. And irrespective of racial bias, I'm thinking, no, she's not going to go down that path. So I did everything I could to prove them wrong. So I did education, I did leadership, I was at the forefront, I'm still at the forefront. And I remember one girl says, oh, you guys coming to take our job from us. And I'm in an undergrad class with her. I'm thinking, why are you in an undergrad class? I just came here. Why are you still doing undergrad at your age? I mean, what is your problem? So I developed that. And even I was saying, sharing to with Benita, one person I met when I came, I was one person as one of those to interview her for a leadership position. And when I came, she was my leader. And I turned around interviewing her. So it looks like we cannot sit there and be down. You have to develop your integrity, self-integrity, self-awareness to show that, to prove people wrong. Unfortunately, that's how the life goes, but you have to develop yourself to that extent.
Well, let me speak to the impact because as her daughter and experiencing those real instances of racism with her, that's a very unique experience to watch your mother go through. I was born in Dominique and I came. So I remember what it was like before and when I came to America, how different it was from me going to school and also watching her go through something that she did not have a framework for in dealing with racism. We came for a better life, economic opportunity, and was not aware of the significant racial issues in America. And that took a lot, even a couple of years ago when Mom watched A Color of Fear, then the video, and then she just started going off because it's like, that's what I experienced. I experienced racism, and being able to be able to say that years later is a freeing thing, but it's also a little bit of a intimidating thing to know that you're thinking economics. When you get here, your life, it has to be picked apart because of your race. And that is, I mean, emotionally really difficult to have to carry and watch somebody that you love carry that as well. So, speaking to that, it's a difficult thing, and I wish that we had more preparation and we are able to help our nurses, our professionals acclimate in that early stage so they know how to go through the rest of their experience with strength and integrity.
Okay. And the listener is just continuing with her line of questioning. I just want to bring in this last piece of her question. She went on to ask, what advice can you give to Dominican ladies who want to work in the healthcare industry, who want to start this journey, but they may be scared, to face the type of racism that you just mentioned. Any piece of advice?
I mean, it's something you might think is scary, but again, it's your self integrity. What are you going to offer? What are you going to do for yourself? If you are going in this battle because someone else goes into and you perceive that they may be successful, that is your ground for failure right there. But if you have a purpose and you have an objective and you know what you want, all you have to do is work that route to your objective, irrespective of what is going on in the parameters. But that is your objective. So you have to have a focus. And then you have to do your homework, study, do your homework, know what the world looks like, know what the framework is, and work within that system to bring yourself to where you need to be. It's a
Right.
goal.
And understand the world is different now. So when, in the 1990s, when my mom came over, when we came over, that's one world. But in 2020, our world is opened up so that the internet and online and virtual learning is now becoming a way for you to integrate into another culture, acclimate, learn, even before physically being there. That's something that we have an advantage of. So learn as much as you can, but also value your voice and your unique perspective. You are going to encounter racism. You're going to encounter all of it in any profession. I do to this day in my job. It's not a function of my job, it's just a function of life. But the thing that I can say is the strength that I'm carrying from my family, from my faith, from my community, that is also something that rises to the top. And I will say people in the Caribbean have a strength, and even people of all African descent, we have a strength that we just don't even understand. We have a relational way of living, a communal way of living that I don't know you, you don't know me, but when we meet each other, we're laughing and joking like we a best friend. That's how we live. And that is people try to make that a weakness. It is a strength because you draw on the strength of someone else. So learn how to cope, your personal coping, style and skill. Learn how to acclimate before you get there physically, but rely on your strength, rely on your voice, and know that you're strong enough to do it if you want to do it for the right reasons, like my mom said.
That's definitely good advice. Definitely
Mm.
good advice. Our time is, quickly coming to an end, but there was something that we wanted to get in, before we come to a close. And we want to go back to this whole cultural competence concept, and how can we make the whole concept of culturally competent care, how can we make that a sustainable thing even beyond the pandemic, you know?
Ben, I'll answer that question too. I would look at it as a paradigm shift.
Mm.
Where are we going and what we're taking with us? And I remember telling Benito when I was going to school, I'm the person that liked to do things differently.
Be
Really,
extra,
really, yeah,
extra.
I like to be extra. Okay. And I did that research paper and I'm all over this paper and I'm putting every bit of detail, everything in there. And then the instructor put on my paper KISS, KISS. I'm thinking, what on earth is this? I never wrote KISS on my paper. I'm going through the entire paper. Where on earth did she see KISS? Is she stupid or what? So I'm looking back and forth. And then I'm thinking, I cannot ask her what is this. So I'm going and I research what KISS is. Keep it simple, stupid. And I'm thinking, are you serious? I didn't take it as a negative. I cracked up and I laughed and I look at the paper. I say, yes, for real. I need to keep it simple, stupid. So and that's how we're going along this, keeping it sustainable, keep it simple. Because our stakeholders are not all experts. Our stakeholders are from different areas in the community. So we've got to make it simple that they can understand and bring this across effectively.
Right. And find partners, find allies, find accomplices. Earlier on, I mentioned that our traffic has gone up at UF in terms of research and partnership during the COVID. And I hope that everyone takes advantage of that type of situation. Our college is not the only one that's happening, with other universities in the United States. Their faculty are now having time to sit down and think about what they're wanting to do, and it's a perfect time to find partnership. Your community is now bigger because you have Dominicans abroad all over the world. For instance, people over the world that can become part of a new paradigm. Think about again the impact. Think about the fact that you are the expert. That people abroad are not the expert necessarily; they are your partners, but you are the expert on what you need and what will work for you in your culture, and own that role as the leader, because that is going to be the shift that happens in the rest of the world, is understanding the expert in the individual.
And I'll quickly jump on this because in the past we want to emulate other people. We want to design our project according to what they do. But I think what our product that we have now is that others can emulate it. We can have that model that others can live by and do by because we have something sustainable.
Community is not a weakness, it's a strength.
It's a strength, absolutely.
We have some comments coming from Facebook. Just want to, Carissa Edwards says, absolutely. One of the reasons racism continues to exist in America is because of structural violence, which is systematic in the American culture. We have someone else saying that, yes, I felt like I was targeted when I studied in China, broke down one time, and my professor had to let the others in the class, like I guess told the others in the class out, call them out, because I had to prove myself, and the Chinese people did not like the fact that I was competing with them on their playing field. So it happens all the time. It happens all the time, and we don't pay attention to it because we just feel like, oh, we're all just human beings. But all different human beings from different communities, from different cultural backgrounds, different beliefs, and we have to take that into consideration even before we get the solution for the problem,
Mm-hmm.
or look to the solution, or look for a solution for the problem.
Yeah.
Are you there? Judy, you there?
Yes, right.
Yeah, you were stuck for a little while on my end.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. But I'm here. Yeah, so it was a pleasure having you ladies on with us this morning. I mean, there's some serious take-home messages that I got, and I hope our listening audience also got. I love the advice, for the young people maybe wanting to pursue certain aspirations overseas and having to deal with some of the things that we spoke about. And I especially liked the last piece, Benita, that you mentioned about being the cultural expert within your own, community or your own nation. I've dealt with it professionally so much, where people, believe that the outside voice, the foreigner, the consultants, the will,
We just say Dominican's famous for that now.
yeah,
Like
will
else
be able
better than us.
yeah, would be able to. I mean, you might be right there. You understand the cultural context of whatever it is that you're professional in, but it's felt that the foreigner can do it better. So I really, as one of my strong take-home messages, I really hope that we gain that cultural appreciation, the appreciation for our own cultural experiences to lead, um, you know, development efforts locally. So I really enjoyed having you ladies on. I know we segued a bit into the whole racial, racial conversation that's happening, but it was necessary.
The
It
part
was,
of our culture, right?
yeah.
Well, thank you very much. I really enjoyed you guys. I really enjoyed just being here and giving our experiences.
For me, a lot of what you guys said really resonates with me. Because I am just like you guys in a different country. Where the it's not what I necessarily grew up with, or and I feel because I'm so outspoken, I kind of get okay. If I'm uncomfortable about something, you're gonna know it. So it works for me. It might not work for somebody who's more of an introvert. And they might be having a tough time wondering, is there something wrong with me? But it's nothing really wrong with you. One of the things I like the fact that you say, we can find our own strengths within our communities, and it's always if you can reach out to somebody. You might be in a school right now, or are we getting ready to go to university in September, or wondering, okay, I'm going to mingle. Always find someone that you can relate to and you can refer to, and you guys can do this together, because you get stronger. You're stronger when you're together than apart. Don't let your community or your culture be what separates you from you together. Really appreciate that you guys coming on and speaking, and I want to tell you guys, be safe.
Thank you.
Be safe out I know you guys must have males, or I mean, it feels a little bit more threatening when you're a man than a woman, but it's implies, it's implies. Be safe with out there, and I don't even know what to say. What that is. It's so scary, and I don't think you even understand when you're in the Caribbean how scary it can be. Like you said at the beginning, once you're black, you're not African, right? And we're all in this
Together.
all of the happening is affecting all of us, not
Absolutely.
just millions of people in the US.
Right.
Thanks,
right.
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 All right. So Joe, we've already exceeded our time, so we have to go. But we wanted to remind the listeners tomorrow. Remember, we have Dr. Wallace back on with us. Therapy Thursdays. So if people want to get their questions in, they should do so early because Dr. Wallace, we didn't even get time last week to deal with everything that was coming in. So 245-0514, you can WhatsApp your questions to that number or send them via Facebook to our Woman2Woman Facebook page. And hopefully Dr. Wallace will get a chance tomorrow to deal with some of your issues and your concerns.
We want it to be all your questions. So make sure you send in the questions earlier, because you see, I'm pregnant with questions. So I will take over if you let me take over in terms of the amount of questions. But we want it to be about self-healing for all. So we want to encourage you, send in your questions early o'clock. Send them to Trudy mentioned the number. Send it to our Facebook page. You can also email it at w2w.vibesradio@gmail.com, and we will be able to, we don't have to say your name. Some people might say, bye, we will not say your name if you don't want us to say your name. You just have a question and you're dealing with something, you're having a hard time. There's a level of professionalism that comes with this, and we will keep your names out of the conversation. All right, so don't worry, guys. Tomorrow's gonna be a big show. We gotta go.
All right. So Therapy Thursday tomorrow. See you guys tomorrow, same time, same place, 9 a.m.
To our guests for coming in and hanging out with us. Topic was very, very, very relevant today. Very relevant. Love it. Love it, guys. Trudy, have a good day.
All right.
Good day. What's left of it? You have any meetings?
No meetings today. Oh. So should be a light day, and I'll see how it goes.
Good see you guys. Back to regular programming. I want to say a shout out to all of the engineers and everybody who's part of the Vibes team doing the work on the ground. Big up to you guys for always connecting with us. The man chum that comes up with the Rhythm Nation, and I think at 10:30 it is the Fine Foods infomercial takes over the airwaves. So thanks guys for continuing to stay locked onto the champion station Vibes Radio. Until tomorrow.
Bye.
Didn't you know the only place to go, Vibes Radio? Silk say so.
From today until May the 31st,